Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships. So here's a question for you. Have you ever had the experience with a narcissistic person that they consistently just don't answer a pointed question you ask them? Drop that one in the comments. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of yeses because it's very much one of their gambits. They just don't answer the question. So let's break that down. Now listen, it's not, narcissistic people have not cornered the market on this, right? It isn't just them, let's be fair. Anyone who is passive aggressive or shifty or grifty, they don't answer the question either. But I gotta tell you, it's definitely a classical part of the narcissistic ground game. And if you have ever spent many hours in a text battle with a narcissistic person, or even an in-person battle with someone with this kind of personality, it'll often keep coming back to this same issue. They don't answer the question. It's an interesting trick, a sort of a con, a grifty, slimy kind of trick, but it can be maddening and confusing unless you know it's happening. And then when you can see they are not answering the question, you can set a boundary and break out of the toxic cycle. So let's play it out. Maybe in an intimate relationship. So let's play it out what it would look like in an intimate relationship. You say, hey, did you stay out late with that person from work? They say, what person? You say, come on, you know what person, that new person on your team, the one you just said like moved here from New York or someone? They say, oh, that person. You say, well, did you stay out late with them last night? They say, why are you asking this again and again? We have a major deadline coming up at work. It's all hands on deck. You ask, did you stay out late with them last night? They say, I am wiped out with these deadlines. I need a break. Maybe we can go to the beach this weekend. You say, oh my God, why can't you just answer a simple question? They say, I'm not answering a ridiculous question. On top of everything else I'm going through, I get to come home to this. Remember how you wanted us to be able to get that part of the house upgraded? You keep talking about it? Well, if we can get this deadline done and get the bonuses, I'll be able to get that done for the house. Can we just go to sleep? I am working like a crazy person for us, and yet I get to come home to interrogation just because you don't have enough going on. Did the question ever get answered? No, it didn't. Let me give you another example. Imagine this happening in a family. You say, hey, Ma, why did you ask my daughter about my work stuff? Why didn't you just come to me? Your parent says, what are you talking about? I don't know about any of your work stuff. You say, you asked Mary yesterday about my work stuff. I don't want my daughter in the middle. What did you want to know? Why did you approach her? Your parent says, don't be silly. Mary makes stuff up. She's dramatic. You say, I would prefer you didn't ask her these things. I just want to understand why you did it so we can avoid it in the future. Why did you ask her that? Your parent says, when did having a conversation become about asking? We were just talking about life. You're being ridiculous, and once again, you're trying to put a wedge between me and Mary. Did your question get answered? No, it did not. And I know many of you, listening to these scenarios I'm laying out to you, you're thinking, Dr. Ramani, there's a lot of gaslighting going on here. Yeah, there is. Not answering the question is, in fact, sort of a kind of a sub-form of gaslighting. Because the way the narcissistic person operates is not only to distract and deflect, but also to sometimes shift blame or paint you as being overly sensitive or dramatic. And in doing all that, then the question doesn't get answered, right? At the end of these two sort of sample conversations I give you, not only did the people not get any resolution, the question didn't get answered, and they felt worse because in the case of the couple, the person asking the question about the inappropriate hours with the questionable work person, the person asking the questions was painted as demanding. the narcissistic person presented themselves as a hardworking martyr, and the person asking the question was almost blamed for that person working late. You wanted a kitchen and the price and blah, blah, blah. In the person talking with their parent, the parent, in essence, is accusing their adult child, asking the questions, of creating tension with the grandchild. And so after not having the question answered, which they didn't, not only are you still left without an answer, you are left filled with negative emotion. So you're now 0 for 2, and that's not a nice feeling. Their not answering the question goes back to something else I have brought up on this channel, which is the inability of narcissistic people to answer any question that begins with why. They don't know their why. Narcissistic people are notoriously disconnected from their motivations. I think most often because it would shame the hell out of them if they did dive in. So if that person said, yes, actually, I did go out with my young colleague because I'm insecure and attention seeking, and I like the power I have because I'm the boss. Do you really think they're going to answer the why? Probably not. And because they have no empathy, they also won't come back with an answer that's kind, like, yes, I was out with her and with several other people from work, but I'm sorry. It was wrong of me to not call. I know the situation makes you uncomfortable. You've brought it up before, and I am so sorry. And then next time, they actually don't repeat the behavior. The person, using that example of the conversation with the parent, why did you do that, right? That's what you're asking. Is the parent really going to say, because I have no boundaries and I believe you as my child owe me something and I feel entitled to information about your life, and since you won't give it to me, I feel entitled to get it out of my granddaughter, and I don't really care if it messes with my granddaughter's head. They're not going to say that. There will be no moment of the parent saying, oh, you're right, I shouldn't be doing that. There is no accountability in these relationships, and that's why they're so frustrating. Narcissistic people don't answer questions because they're not, partly, not entirely, partly because they're not self-aware, because they don't feel like they should have to, because they refuse to maintain a sense of behavioral accountability, because they're oppositional, and because they're entitled. You take all that, put that together, it's why you're often not able to get straight answer to questions, especially questions where the answer is shaming or uncomfortable. So how do narcissistic people avoid answering questions so well? Gaslighting, leaving you confused. Stonewalling and just oppositionally refusing to answer a question. Storming away, which is a form of stonewalling. And if you have any abandonment issues yourself, you may find yourself giving up on pursuing the question and trying to appease them to get them to come back. They may not answer the question by getting angry, and then you may give up on the question because you're afraid of their rage. These techniques avoid you from pushing for the answer. When you ask a question and it's not answered, then there's really no path forward. Listen, you can't conduct your life like you're living in a court of law or in a deposition where you can force someone to answer a question. And even if you do, you still won't get an answer, and 95% of the time, you'll end up gaslighted. So you wonder, is there any path forward? There really isn't one except radical acceptance. They are not going to answer the question. It opens up shame. Folks with these personalities lack self-awareness. And you won't get empathy even if they do answer the question. If you push them hard enough, and sometimes they do answer it, more often than not, the answer will hurt you. Many people feel as if they have lost their reality when they ask a narcissistic question, and they may destroy themselves in the pursuit of an answer. In many cases, especially cases when it may bring up their shame, I can promise you this, you ain't getting one. Drop in the comments, have any of you been successful in getting an honest answer out of a narcissistic person? Again, it's hard because they simply may not have that skill set of doing the deep dive and honestly reflecting on an answer. Ultimately, most of their psychological resource goes into impression management, how people view them. Keep that in mind and stop trying to chase down the answers to some of these questions. it's not comfortable. You're not likely to get them, and this could be why I'm telling you, in some ways, I think the entire private investigation industry is kept in business by people trying to get the answers they simply can't get out of narcissistic people in their lives. Thanks again.